Ni hao, namaste. Welcome to NotableTalks by AnyTechTrial.com, which is your partner for SaaS, Web3, and Metaverse. Basically, enabling you to do more things with technology. And I am your host, Harsha Awasthi. And today we have with us a seasoned industry leader who is working every day and working very hard towards building a safer world for everyone. I am talking about Mr. Siang Tiong, Journal Manager, Southeast Asia at Kaspersky, a global leader organization in the cybersecurity space, enabling you and us, all of us, to feel truly safe online with AI-driven protection against hackers, the latest viruses, ransomware, and spyware. So let's give him a very warm welcome. Welcome, Siang, to the show. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Harsha. Yes, today is good. Friday.
Yes.
So I'm glad it's end of the week and I get to rest.
I can actually, you didn't even have to say Friday. I can see it from your smile that it is the beginning of the weekend. Okay, so I wanted to know from you that over the past 27 years, oh my God, whenever I say 27 years of experience, that's humongous and that's amazing. Of your professional journey, you have been doing so many things, working in multiple disciplines such as sales, people management, cybersecurity, software, and lots more, like we discussed. Today, there's a lot of buzz around, zero trust policy in context to cybersecurity and data protection. As an experienced business leader at a leading cybersecurity organization, we would like to know from you that what exactly is zero trust policy and how do you see these policies impacting an organization overall culture, and what should be the key focused areas while implementing the zero trust policy at an organization. So what are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so first of all, what is zero trust? Well, the phrase says it all. You don't trust anything. You start from zero, right? So first, we need to understand why we get to this concept. If you trace through, well, that 27 years, you will see internet and connectivity progress over time. When we first started, it was just simply connection within the office. Everything is done within the four walls. And so basically anything that is connected, you can trust. But as web developed, there's a lot of interaction. And today we are in Web 2.0, where we see a lot of interaction, not just within the organization, intra-organizations as well. And the web of complexity is actually quite complicated. I'll give you an example. Today, if you are in an airline company, your customer would interact with you by first buying a ticket. That airline reservation could be outsourced. He clocks in mileage. That loyalty points could be outsourced. He selects his seats. He selects his meal. And the meal information goes straight to the provider for your food. So you imagine through the whole interaction with just one booking of seats and going onto the plane, there are a lot of parties that needs to be interacting with you, which means even if you run an airline company, there's a lot of other companies that you need to connect directly with. Now, what that means is any point of compromise will lead to a compromise with you, right? And so therefore, you've got to bring it back to the lowest denominator. So you start with trusting no one, and it is a default deny situation. If you are not trusted, you don't come in. If I want to trust you, there's a set of things I need to do to make sure that you are trusted. And I need to know if there is a breach. How do I quickly fence it up and protect myself? Okay. So that doesn't mean that we are going back in collaboration. That doesn't mean we're going back in time. I mean, humans are social, right? We need to move forward with business being collaborative. And so it is a mindset, first a mindset shift, a shift from a point that you need to then start with the lowest denominator and you build from there. So for the business perspective, they need to then start with that mindset and build up the system that way. And when they do that, they can then encourage a lot more collaboration with a peace of mind. So if you are an SMB or you're an enterprise, when you're building up your IT infrastructure, first, of course, you will start with the concept of zero trust and you build from there. Right? So therefore, every device needs to be protected. So you start with the device, then you start next to the path that needs to be connected, and then to the application that's running it, and where the application is located. So the entire data path needs to be connected, needs to be protected. Next is the data itself that needs to be protected. So the consideration will now not just emphasize on endpoint security, it also emphasizes on parameter, it also emphasizes on encryption, and as well as application security. So the entire portfolio of security needs to be taken care of. Then of course, you need to also monitor and understand if there should be a breach, what else to do, and then you know how to take action, and that comes with the security posture that a company needs to build.
Okay, so what I wanted to know that with remote working becoming a new normal for many employees around the globe, like we know, providing a secure working environment became one of the key issues for companies. Would you be generous enough, to be kind enough to share some tips to guide our audiences and our viewers in implementing a cyber secure hybrid working environment to safeguard against rapidly growing ransomware, like we were talking, attacks? And what could be the first steps, if I have to ask you, for a SMV to start their journey to become cyber secure here?
Okay, so we talk about zero trust. Let me draw an analogy. When we first were hit by COVID 2 years ago, what was the first response? We closed the border. That is almost the same as doing your perimeter security. And you block everything and you cocoon up and you trust whoever that's inside the cocoon. But as we develop, we need to interact. We need to progress with life, right? So slowly we open up. We have VTL. What does VTL mean? VTL means if you are vaccinated, you can come over. So that is a secure channel. Then we progress now to accepting that it's endemic. Then you will now make sure that first of all, you yourself as an individual is protected. You put on your mask, you wash your hands regularly, you sanitize your hands, you make sure you have that safety distance. So that brings to the individual. So the same concept being transplanted to an IT environment. The initial response from a lot of companies has always been to build the perimeter security. But as I've explained to you, a lot companies need to interact with one another to get the business going these days. They cannot do their IT in isolation anymore, which means you got to pull that back to the same concept we are implementing the COVID defense now. You start with the individual, which is your device. And that will be the endpoint security you put onto your device, be it your laptop, your PC, or even your mobile phone. So securing the device is the first thing. You also need to secure your device in the cloud or in the data center. And the next thing, you provide that conduit, the secure conduit, which is where VPN comes in and all that. Right? And especially when you're working from home, you can imagine the connection from the data center all the way. It's like a spider web of tentacles reaching to the home. And anywhere along this, you're traveling through a lot of unknowns. And therefore, it is important that you establish a secure channel. So these are ways that if you draw from the physical world and you pull back and explain that concept and understanding to the IT world, and then it's quite clear what it should be doing. So for the SMB, the first thing they need to do, of course, secure the device. And that's not just the device in your hands, it's also the device in the cloud, the device in the data center, depending on whether they are. Right? The important thing for a lot of SMB, when they outsource, they keep thinking that the security is someone else's problem. It's not. If there's a compromise, they are the one explaining to the customer, not the provider. Right? So they need to ensure the security. If they need to, ask what the providers are doing to secure their environment. Sometimes it comes with extra charges, and it's well worth to take note of those things. Okay. So back to first principle, protect the items, the devices, the servers, secure the channel, right? And then make sure you secure the data as well. Make sure the data is safe. So these are the three key steps they need to do, right? And last and most important of all is a self-discipline. They need to understand, they need to maintain that discipline. It's just like maintaining a discipline or putting on a mask. Yeah? You fall back on a discipline, you stand the risk. And that's life.
Okay, so we hear a lot of buzz around, cloud first policy these days. What exactly I wanted to know that this is? What is cloud first policy, and how does it help to leverage the work experiences of the employees and achieve business objectives?
Okay, so first we need to understand what is cloud. A lot of people, when you say cloud, they refer to the servers that they can set up in the cloud. So someone effectively will be hosting that server. They buy on a time per time basis, like time slots. But it is not just infrastructure that they're buying. We also see software as a service, and these people also exist in the cloud. So you can be buying, say, HR application. So as a company, you need to maintain the basic HR stuff, payroll, biodata, job history, promotion, take leave, and all that. But if you notice, such functions are common across all the companies. A little bit of variation in nuances. Okay? So there are companies that provide HR application as a service. You just need to subscribe to it. Similarly, there are companies that provide Salesforce automation as a service. You subscribe to it. So that gives the company the flexibility. Imagine instead of paying a lump sum upfront to set up the entire infrastructure, have a team of IT people to even start building it. Now, you just need to subscribe on a monthly basis, per user, per time basis, depending on how they charge you per transaction, anything. Right? So that gives you immediately as an SMB, number one, quick start. Right? Sign up and you're ready to go. HR is not the core function. Your core function may be a retail business. Your core function may be a logistics business. In HR, is one of the back office functions that you need, but it can be outsourced. Right? So quick start. Second, OpEx. Immediately, this is on a monthly basis or transaction basis, which means it mirrors how are you going to charge your customer. If you're charging your customer on a per transaction basis and you turn around, you can pay on a transaction basis. That means from a cash flow perspective, it's a lot cleaner. There's no money upfront. Thirdly, is scalable. Today, you scale from a 10-man shop to a 100-man shop to a 1,000-man shop. It is the same infrastructure. It's the same way of operating. So that takes that mind off non-core function so that you can focus on your core function in your business. And the most important to a lot of knowledge workers these days is they can now access everywhere, anywhere. As long as a net connection, they get the service. So cloud first is this concept. Whatever you can put it on the cloud, put it on the cloud. So you take your mind off the non-core function, and it helps you to scale. It helps you with your cash flow.
So it is widely believed that these days NFT and cryptocurrencies will drive the digital economy, and Web3 is the future of the internet. We would really appreciate if you can explain to our audience and the viewers about what exactly is Web3, crypto, and NFT, and how is it going to impact a normal internet user day-to-day engagement with the technology.
So this is a very exciting area. I'm actually very excited to talk about it. Yeah? But to understand Web3, NFT, and all that, you need to first understand the basic concept, which is blockchain. Of course, there are a lot of literature, YouTubes, everything on the net. You can read up more if you want to. But let me just introduce the basic concepts, which is number one, it's a distributed database, which means it is not centrally held. It's not held by a central body. It's sort of democratized data. So that's the first important concept. What that means is that no one absolutely controls the data. And you are now the owner of your own data. Whatever you put in is immutable. You cannot change it. Okay? So these are very basic concepts. Now, you pull that out to a broader concept. What that means when it's distributed, what it means is then you can be collaborative. Right? If this data is distributed among many parties, then these many parties have the flexibility to input into this database and own that part of the database that they input. And there's transparency in there. So with the help of encryption technology, cryptography, and all that, that's when the security comes in to protect this distributed database. So with this as a basic concept of blockchain, then you build the application on top of it. Now, cryptocurrency is probably the most talked about application on top of blockchain. But I keep telling people it is not blockchain, and blockchain is not cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency only. So cryptocurrency is an application that builds on blockchain. So the common ones are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. It goes on. Now, these are monetary systems that is on the blockchain. Same concept of a distributed database. The ownership is now written into this database. So we now know you own the coins. Compared to today, if you need to go to a bank, and the bank is the one that proves that you own this amount of money. And that is centrally managed. So this kind of distributed nature allows the democratization of money. Okay, so that's cryptocurrency. NFT is yet another application that sits on blockchain. NFT is a form of digital asset. So it records the ownership. So today, if you may own this digital asset, it shows the record that you own it. That's it. Now, why is it so hot these days? First, it can be sliced into multiple ownerships, so you can share. Second, it is available, which means you can now take this and so the securitization of it is one thing. The next thing is you can then freely use this as your asset with that the blockchain records as a proof that you own it. But having said that, cryptocurrency and NFT are not the only application for blockchain. The more useful use of blockchain that I've seen recently is vaccination records. So IATA has done the vaccination record on the blockchain. And so different airlines in different countries can input that into the distributed database. So imagine if you travel, your vac cert is easily accepted by a different country through accessing these distributed records. Another usage of blockchain is in the logistics arena, e-trade, trade declarations, documentations as the containers move from port to port, they break bulk and all that. All this information is captured on the blockchain. And the different port of call, the different logistics company can input the data. So you actually have a trace of what happens to the goods. So these are very useful applications of blockchain. Web3 is actually the next generation of the web, and it will be built on blockchain. And a lot of people feel that very excited about this because as we have seen the development of the web. The first generation of web is static. Web 1.0 is static. You post static pages. It's purely informative. Web 2.0 brings the collaborative front into it. That's when systems are connected. That's when you can interact with it. You can make payments. So the online shopping is an application that is on Web 2.0. Your interaction in the social media is on 2.0. But guess what? You don't own the data. The moment you post something, the data goes to the social media company. Actually, they own the rights to use it. So that creates a lot of tension, especially in the recent years. So everyone is talking about Web 3.0 because you're now looking at the third version of web when anyone can input and they own the data, the democratization of data that I talked about. And wouldn't that be good if you can interact and you can now own your data? And I think this is an interesting new world. And with this, it encourages a lot more collaboration in Web 3.0.
With blockchain becoming one of the core technology across many industries, blockchain ledgers are now used by many companies and some governments as well to efficiently execute their operations with utmost transparency and accuracy. First, we would appreciate if you could explain to our audience and the viewers about what is blockchain and some of its key uses, cases. Also, we would like to know what were the key changes you saw in the business landscape due to adoption of blockchain, and how do you see the business ecosystem changing in the near future with more blockchain use cases stepping in? How do you feel about that?
So I've given some examples of blockchain earlier on. So let me elaborate further on that. Now, if you see some of these use cases I spoke about, actually, if I never point out to you, you may not know that it's based on blockchain. And that actually is where technology needs to get into. As it matures, it fades into the background. Nobody talks about payment systems anymore, but you kind of expected to have some form of digital payment when you do your online retail. So it becomes accepted as a norm and it fades into the background. And that's what I'm seeing as the whole IT landscape matures to blockchain. So with all these use cases, as the first step, we will see more definitely. So you can see that the two key concepts that we spoke about, one is the democratization of data. You owning the data. And this is going to drive that shift. The other concept that we talked about is the distributed nature and the collaborativeness that it brings out through the distributed nature. So collaboration, democratization of data. And actually, through the use of blockchain, through the use of such cases, it is these two concepts that will surface to the front. And as the technology merge into the background, these will be the two things that we begin to see. If you recall, as I was explaining Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, you can see from 1.0 from static to transactional, that progress from static to transactional. Can you snap your finger and recall at what point in time we shift? No one can tell. It's a gradual move, but together with the move, your idea, your mindset shifts. Same thing, from 2.0 to 3.0, it will shift. Your mindset will shift, and that's when we will embrace it. And that is the beauty of technology, which is why I'm still in this for the last 7 years. Yeah. So back to its use cases, and I think I've explained that. The concept that it's going to bring forward, I've explained that as well. Democratization of data, and the collaborative nature that it will bring about.
Okay, so when we talk about cybersecurity, what do you think, and what are your thoughts about cybersecurity for an organization? And most importantly, how much do you think they should really focus on this in terms of financial matters as well?
That a company needs to have. So the basic starts with endpoint, then it progresses to VPN and encryption. In my opinion, especially for startups, and I'm referring to those who are more information startup kind of company that is more reliant on technology, I would say these are the two basics that is a must-have. Right? What we have seen in our cybersecurity world is the cleanup and the damage from such a fallout is expensive. So it is probably better to spend the money up front and make sure that the basic protection is there. So the basic protection needs to be first starting with endpoint, second with the encryption. These are the two that I will almost insist that anyone should have. Okay? But of course, as the company progresses, there's always a tussle between spending on security and spending on the business. Right? And I always argue that it needs to be in lockstep. There's no point in building a business that's not secure, and you have to scramble to undo the damage. So if you look at security, it is the other way of looking at security is how you look at insurance. How much of health insurance do you buy? Is anybody's question, right? But it also depends on your appetite. And a lot of us will, especially when we reach this age, we actually wish that we would have bought health insurance when we were younger. All right? When it's cheaper, when it's easier to start, and it will last you longer. And so that is the same thing I will say to a lot of startups.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us this time, Siang. And you were great. Like, we got to know so many things about you, the emotional side of it and the food side of you. And I hope you have a great day. And thank you so very much once again from Notable Talks, from Harsha Awasthi and ATT. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining us for this Notable Talks by AnyTechTrial.com, your partner for SaaS, Metaverse, and Web3, enabling you to get more done with technology. This is me, Harsha Awasthi, saying goodbye. And also do not forget, if you want, you can stay connected with us, AnyTechTrial.com, through Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Till then, be good. I will see you soon. Take care.